Uh, Hey, people. Everybody joining us real quick. Just got done with the gym, and now I'm avoiding doing my laundry. Alexa, turn on the living room lights. So I thought I'd come say hi to you all, people. We are broadcasting on YouTube as well. If I get banned, I will be on YouTube. I often get banned. The cancel culture commandos are often out trying to ban me. So the link to my YouTube is up in the link tree if you want to join there too. So when I get banned, we can just keep chitter chatting. Not much going on today. What was it I wanted to talk about? Well, the cancel culture thing, for one thing, that's gotten a lot of traction. The biggest response to it is because my accusation is that modern cancel culture is kind of was started by liberals. I get banned all the time because, people don't like what I have to say. I think it's also because I have a chubby round face. But to me, and a lot of the retorts on the whole cancel culture thing, like, well, McCarthy and Salem, and people were bringing up Salem witch trials. I'm like, wow, you all are really reaching back. And frankly, if you want to bring historical figures into it as demonstration that it doesn't belong to liberals, then why didn't you learn from those historical figures? Like, if you're going to sit around and say, well, McCarthy invented it, okay, McCarthy was 70 fucking years ago. Why did it get reinvented on Berkeley campuses 70 years later if you all are smarter than McCarthy and you have a historical precedent on which to draw to see that this is a bad deal? And of course, to that, they have nothing to say. Just more the liberal right guy or a conservative. And look, I tend to look at modern liberalism as a problem attitude, but liberal thought is not like some kind of disease thing. You got to understand the difference between conservative and liberal starts at the heart of an assumption about the basics of humanity. For example, conservatives believe that a man must stand on his own, and if you give him too much, he will be inclined to continue to take that too much rather than stand on his own. Whereas the liberals believe that if you help a man to stand, he will eventually take off on his own power. There is validity in both of these beliefs, and there is validity and a strength of character in both. And there's examples of both of those things being true. I tend to fall into the camp that sees the conservative view as being more often true because humans tend to stretch for comfort. They tend to do the minimum they can get away with and be comfortable rather than necessarily striving and chasing their dreams. But that does not mean there is no validity to some of these liberal ideas. We shouldn't be in such a battle for it. We should see it as a spectrum and apply those tools that are valid to the situation. Saying true liberals need conservatives and vice versa. Yes, it's true. There's validity to both viewpoints. And we need to, stop lambasting each other. It's just that. Just look, it's not hard for a liberal to go and say, hey, Westboro Baptist, freakazoids are shitheads, right? They can certainly find members of the conservative camp that are absolute shitheads. So we have to own each other that we have shitheads in both camps, right? And I do, like Jamie, you're talking about everything is situational, and that's absolutely true. But then you get on the other step, stream on Twitch. I'm streaming on YouTube, so I've got an off TikTok thing. It's on YouTube right now. I'm simulcasting. The problem with making everything situational, which I agree, is that you can't make legislation situational because then it becomes subjective and it removes objectivity, which is what we need when we're applying things like legislation and governmental programs. So you get trapped there, and it's unfortunate, but it just is that existence. But yeah, situational. Everybody's got to reach for their situations. If everybody kind of goes on that. I only got called disgusting, old, and fat 17 times today. Thank you. I don't know if I'm losing that demographic that says everything that I say is invalid because I'm old and fat, but it's only happened a few times today. Intricately and more much with your view of this. Thank you. I think one of the problems. I get daily death threats too. I get people talking all kinds of shit, and it's like, hey, coming over, better people than you have tried. I'm here and they're not because I fucking killed them. So come on in, and it's like I could be very, very nice, and I prefer to be nice. But if you want to go to town, I'll rip the face off the front of your skull and screw your eye sockets while you scream to death. You want to dance, or you want to have a nice conversation? Either way is fine with me. Katie, I'm always surprised with the whole red and blue state of it. It's because trains, picture, and sure. I just like trains. I'm a train nut. I like the steam era. It's part of being a history nut, but I also I like trains. They're jealous of my eyebrows. It's true, my pretty eyebrow. This one's got a big scar in it and stuff because it was part of getting split open. Dumbass cat, if you would stop knocking this fucking cup over, there'd be water in it. Well, thank you. I appreciate being appreciated, especially for my eyebrows. French speakers. Bonjour, comment allez-vous? Un, deux, trois. That's all the French I got. That's it. That was the extent of my French. Espresso. Yay, I've got 6 words. But juice? I don't have any juice. I'm not sure what to do with the random juice question. Let's understand intelligence and kindness, but more very quickly. Yeah. Be nice. Yes. Be nice until it's time to not be nice, right? Seems like we get a lot further. There was somebody arguing with a very young girl, 15 or 16 or something, came in. Do you have a favorite model of steam train? Yes. There's actually 2. I actually showed them last time. Anyway, the 2 that are my favorite are both Pennsylvania Railroad engines. One is a Q2, which is a weird wheel arrangement. It's a 4464. And the other is the steam turbine engine. If you could ever change one thing about the world, what would it be? I think I would give us all something to unite for. Division is the new normal, huh? Yeah. Hi, Brazil. I think that if I could change something about the world, I'd probably invade it with aliens or something. I think that people come together in times of adversity much better. Media activity impacting your life and entourage. Stay safe. It doesn't really impact my life. I go on it when I feel like it. When I don't, I don't. My entourage is largely veterans, ex-Marine infantry guys. So my entourage is not the one to fuck with. But we're actually really nice guys. Well, one of my best friends. He's really not a nice guy. He's kind of a sadistic bastard, but he's nice to us. Love your content. Thank you. You like my bald head? Well, thanks, because I didn't go anywhere. We do tend to live in a mean society, but we have for many years. It's just an escalation. And I think that the thing is that, for example, I volunteer and do disaster response all the time. And you know what? There are thousands of people involved in these volunteer activities that are just giving their time and their energy I mean, in spades. And I find them all the time. I think we tend to get isolated, especially with social media, where we are only exposed through algorithms, often to people who negatively interact with us, and we lose some perspective on what else is out there. But you know what? When the fires hit, when the hurricanes hit, um, I find thousands of people jumping in to help, whole corporations. I think there's. Hi, Kevin. Yes, I am also live on TikTok. People get self-centered in their lives, in their heads, but a jarring, disruptive event happens, and all of a sudden they will become profoundly generous, right? They will become deeply generous to the point of sacrificing over their life. Hope you get help. Help with what? I don't know what that means. WAP 2005. You find that people are extremely self-sacrificial. When we were doing Christmas presents, on the 24th, we were doing Christmas presents and then delivering them. And it was, Toys for Tots and Red Cross and lots of other agencies were there. And I was one of many people doing the deliveries. And there were little kids that were wrapping the presents. And one of them, he didn't really get what it was for until he was there. And it was like, there's all these kids that don't get presents. And he's like, we're giving them presents. He wanted to give away the presents that he had just received. And he was in tears because he couldn't give away his new bicycle because somebody needed it more than him. It's like, kid, it's okay. You can have your presents. We're going to get them presents, I promise. But all of those people were there on Christmas to help others. There was no value to them. They just came. Perspective and wisdom. I don't know that I am particularly wise, but thank you. I suppose I get it. I don't know. I've studied and done shit. That's all. Tragedy. It's not so much the tragedy has to happen, gravy train, as a disruptive event. Because humans, look, people don't really understand evolution. Even people that talk about evolution rarely understand evolution. Evolution happens on the level of individual allele expression, right? Inside your body right now, there are alleles for blue eyes and alleles for brown eyes battling with each other to be expressed, in the next generation. Evolution is inherently a self-oriented, selfish event. And those animals that were able to capitalize that and be selfish at the expense of others were able to propagate better. So selfishness and greed are built into the system. They must be for that animal to have evolved. We have evolved to be able to override that. People think evolved past, but it's not evolved past. It's intrinsically part of us. We have evolved the capacity to override that. And that capacity to override it is actually very strong. However, it often requires a disruptive event to jar you out of that instinctive selfishness to look at and cause empathy to the plight of someone else, at which time you're suddenly jarred and you're like, oh, wow, terrible thing happening, let me help. And people are actually very, very good. But they need that disruption. This isn't perspective and wisdom, not to bow. It's common sense and well, thank you. Humans need to active listening. That's true. Darwin's lesson is adapt or die. Well, it's not quite what Darwin's lesson is. Evolution essentially says there will be a mutation that gives advantage. That advantage will lead that particular individual to propagate more and confer that advantage on. And over the course of many generations, that advantageous mutation, which is a speciation event, will become all of the population. And the population that did not have that advantage will gradually go away. So it's not really just like attack or die. It's an advantage will overwhelmingly benefit the creatures that have it. Woman who made the Red Pill movie. I have not seen the Red Pill movie. Like the rational male thing? I thought that was a guy. She realized when she was making the film that she was doing was reacting and not listening. Yeah. Look, most people react and don't listen. It's like the TikTok I just made, the girl saying when a girl is venting to you, you just need to listen and not advise. And on the one hand, that's true. Active listening is a powerful skill set that is valuable in many, many circumstances, especially relationships. My only problem with that is this insistence that men must change and adapt to the way that women want to be, rather than a mutual adaptation where men do gain an active listening skill set, but women also recognize men's intrinsic sort of desire to, when someone approaches them, give advice and to adapt to that as well. By putting yourself in that intense form of stress, it makes regular life more peaceful. By contrast, sure. But a life punctuated with intense stress is not an inherently more peaceful life because it's got punctuations of intense stress. But I tend to agree that we should practice being uncomfortable. Like I sometimes will just, and this is going to sound ridiculous, sometimes I just sleep on the floor because it's not nearly as comfortable as my wonderful bed. So I don't get too used to my wonderful bed. So if I go to a hotel, I can still sleep. I have to go, but thank you. Thank you, Gravy Train 9. Thank you for joining me. Oh, I know, women, nobody really listens to us, but I'm just, what am I going to do? Put it out there, right? Put it out there so we can all hear it. Well, women, if you criticize women as a whole, wait. And yet at the same time, we must resist. Thank you, spontaneous. What? I got the sneeze. We must resist. Thank you for joining us. We must resist the urge to create an us versus them dichotomy. Leave the general real vilification to the foolish. We recognize that there are social aspects of the way that we currently interact with women wherein women are doing things very incorrectly, both for us and for themselves, that we believe should be changed. That does not make women inherently some kind of evil group of malicious fiends. And that's why I don't like this whole rational male red pill thing, because it assigns malice and intent to that which can be explained by rote stupidity. Like, this isn't somebody being malicious, they're just an idiot. They're following an instinctual paradigm without realizing it. That didn't make them some evil, malicious person. They're just dumb. Oh, there was a whole bunch of people last time I was live asking about religious shit. I wish they were here. That was going to be a fun conversation, but I had to go. I ended up going to the gym. I'm going to make something to eat, guys. Although I think I'm just going to make a quesadilla again instead of, I don't know, the foods. Maybe I'll make some foods. I don't know. What about religion? Well, I'm very religious, for one thing. And people were asking about the last time I was on. There was a lot of people that were not terribly religious and were curious about things like, well, because I said, I believe there's too much evidence for a divine to simply discount it. And that threw a lot of people off because I'm a very scientific person. Like, wait a minute, what evidence? And I didn't get a chance to go into it. And people were asking about things like, well, if there's a God, why is he allowing so much evil? And these are valid questions. And in fact, I started my own religious journey by asking the question, basically of the horrible things that I had seen. If there's a benevolent God, why am I witness to these horrible, not me particular, but why are these horrible things exist for me to witness it, right? Is more or less my question. Any normal psychopath. Well, see, I don't like that us versus them mentality. I don't really buy into that. I mean, sometimes I gotta say, sometimes I feel like it, and I kind of, I go that way, but like I said, I don't assign some kind of pathology or malice or malicious intent where, stupidity or lack of intention or an instinctual bias can explain the situation. I think that creating an us versus them between men and women ignores some of the really wonderful and beautiful realities of the world and the potential beauty and specialness that can come from a relationship between men and women. But for that to evolve, I think both of us, men and women, need to do a better job of relating to each other. Why is it when you criticize most women, they give you that angry look? Well, why when you criticize most men, do they give you an angry look? I mean, nobody is immune to disliking being criticized. What if God allows both bad things, his attributes, forgive, grace, justice? Well, I don't like that idea that I allow bad things in order to display my own benevolence, because that in itself is not very benevolent. I don't believe that a benevolent God would be that self-serving. Adeline is just, hello. Well, thank you. I appreciate the perspective. I'm gonna make some cheeseburgers. Y'all want to join me for some cheeseburger making? That's what we're gonna do right now. I'm also on YouTube. If this gets banned, and it often gets banned, and I don't know why. So, why is that look pretty hot? I worded it differently before, and it blocked. Why is the look of a woman irritated at you hot, Shadow? I'm sorry, brother. I think that's you. I'm not sure I follow you with that one. All right, let's see. A burger. There we go. We got burger. Got guacamole. Holy moly, guacamole. Leftover guac. Some cheese. It's fun sometimes when you're going through your fridge and you're like, what random shit do I have to make a meal with? Holy moly, guacamole. Holy moly, guacamole. Make guacamole cheeseburgers. Random question. Do you invest in Bitcoin? I do not. I say when a woman glares at a man, it's hot. Well, I mean, what we find attractive is, variable from person to person. Shadow, you have been on enough of these with me to know that what I find hot is probably different from what a lot of people find hot. But I'm okay with that. There we go. Hello. Hi, Cheryl. California wild man. It's like, God is holy, then his glory is important to himself. Well, sure, it's important to himself, but I don't believe that a benevolent being created evil in order to glorify himself. That just seems like a shitty thing to do. I think evil exists in order to give us genuine free will. That without evil, you cannot have genuine free will. Because you can't choose anything but good. It's like Maybe someone can only be good if they can legitimately choose not to be good. If you can only choose to be good, then there's no telling what you are. What's the best way not to turn back a toxic ex? That was a double negative. What's the best way to not turn back to a toxic ex? Focus on the fact that they're toxic. Hope you are doing fine. Thank you. I'm doing great. Kinks or fetishes? No, I know. If someone is bad for you and you are pining for them, which, all of us do from time to time, you got to focus on the parts of them that remind you of the shit that they have done so that you are not compelled to be interested in spending time with them. Which is just like, when you fall out of love with somebody, you have to do the opposite and focus on their good aspects. Daddy, fine, good. Making some cheeseburgers. Cheeseburgers. And these, let's put a little sage, a little garlic powder. One on these burgers. Sage, oregano. One can't exist without the other, like hot and cold. I think one could exist. Like, you could have a universe that was just goodness. That's the notion of heaven, right? But it's not but in that universe, you no longer have free will or an aspect of free will. Because you don't have any real choices to make. You're just presented with the one, constant option or a variety of options that are good, but otherwise not different. Hello, Massachusetts. It's like going to a breakfast restaurant, right? Like, you can have French toast and you can have pancakes and you can have a breakfast burrito, and all of this sounds delicious, but there's no contrast to it. So you can have it, but it's an existence that has no real meaning to it is all. And I think that evil must exist in the universe in order for our lives to do the function, which I believe, anyway, I believe that our existence is to answer the creator's question of who are you? He created a universe that he knew would result in free-willed, independent beings, and the only question that would be meaningful in that context is to answer the question, who are you? Your simplicity. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's not corny. All right, when you make what I call smash burgers, you smash the patty just flat, and it has this kind of nice broken edge to it like that, and that turns into nice charred bits, and it tastes real good. Thank you. I appreciate that, Tristan. So we've got those going. I'm going to heat up our oil here. I've got just like a quarter of an avocado over there. I'm going to make some quick guacamole to go on these. I got those going. Give me a moment. I'm going to make my guacamole. Walk it off, man. Walk it off. Need a quick bowl to pezzle this into. Have you ever done a tarot reading? No. Don't really buy into most of that. Not against anybody who does. You can believe in what you like, but I'm not really, I don't find continuity in it. I find it too vague to be useful. It's kind of like when someone, police interact with a psychic and he says the body will be found near water. Well, since 78% of the Earth's surface is covered in water, you almost have to do that unless they're found in the middle of a fucking desert. To enjoy Lily. Hi, thank you.
I had thought about making some oven fries with these, but I'm hungry, so I don't feel like waiting that long. Cat on counter. Yeah, I know. My fat old buddy. My big old fat cat. Suzanne. Come on, Petco. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. Oh, oh, oh. Hi. You can tell he's terribly abused. Aren't you? Yes, you are. Yes, because I don't like you. You know why? Because your face is like 85% nose. It's a little weird. I know, and that came completely without accident. My dog might do some. I've seen a lot of people respond to your vids and just stereotype you. He's old and bald. Yes. Well, I'm old and bald and fat. That's all I get. I am apparently invalid because I don't have hair. It totally accident that all of my animals matched. My cat is 13 years old, and when I got my first, me and my ex-wife got our first place together. A mutual friend showed up and said, "Here, you need a cat." And so that's how we got Mo. The dog is actually my cousin's dog. They have a small apartment, and she felt like he needed more space to run about. So I said, "Well, let him come live with Uncle Matt." And so, white dog, white cat, totally by accident, many, many years apart. There we go. Gonna put some tin foil over the top of that to get the cheese real melty. And so then we can turn the heat pretty much down almost to off. I still want a little bit of the heat on for the buns. Can you explain why people use Stitch delete their videos? No. I mean, I think some of them feel like they have had their points, invalidated. I think some of them get so many. Like, I'm not the only one stitching with those videos. They may have thousands of comments, and they feel overwhelmed with the response in a negative way, and so they delete them. That chick Kelly Crew, that then she was one of the ones responsible for getting me canceled. I kept mathematically disproving her points, and she's a very, very dishonest person. She calls herself a community volunteer. She's on community service. She's serving time. That's why she hates cops. Thank you, Utah. So people, they delete them for a variety of reasons. Calves are looking good. Thank you. Well, leg day was yesterday. I feel like I have very small legs. I do a lot of lifting, and I started a volume training thing for the legs to kind of round them out. Good. We have those. Let's put those. Let's put these on a plate. We'll let the beef rest while we do the buns. So I was thinking on Saturday night, I don't have any particular exciting plans. I was kind of thinking we would do another movie night. That worked out very well last time. We did my personal favorite movie, which is Cloud Atlas. I was thinking to do Dark City. We had a time set up last time, except I got banned and we couldn't do the live, and I hadn't set up YouTube yet. So if all of you would like to join me, I think I'm going to do that. That will be at 8:30 Pacific on Saturday. Vince Rants, always nice to see a positive. Thank you. I'm actually a very positive person. I know that doesn't come through much when I've got like 50 seconds to speak. which is unfortunate, but that's just, you know, kind of the reality of the media that we are using to speak together on this. Such as life, we all have limitations. Yep, just making some cheeseburgers. Cheese and guacamole. I like a good disc of onion. I just take a nice slice of onion and unwrap the paper from the outside, lay it on top. There's one. There we go, that's two. Good. See how the buns are doing? The buns are getting cooked. Let's get these sizzling. Let's get the holy moly guacamole. But have you ever tried Gattaca? Yes, I've seen Gattaca. I've never heard Never Let Me. Oh, wait a minute. I think I have seen Never Let Me Go. I think I saw it a long time ago. I remember the title, but that's about it. But yeah, I've seen Gattaca, but this is kind of biased against Easter time. Then join us. Be Saturday night. Join us for our movie. I just want a smear of guacamole. Make really good guacamole, but I like just a smear of it on my burgers. Where's my smear? Smear. My nice toasty buns. Yummy dummy. Pull those off. Ow! Boing myself while I do it. It's always good. Put a little ketchup and let's see. Some spicy mayo. I think I'll try that actually. On the bottom, a little spicy mayo for our burgers. One of my submissives is calling. Kind of debating answering because, you know, there we go. And there was our burgers. Burgers. Oops. Drop that over. There we go. Here's our burgers. Dog is handsome or pretty. Welcome burgers. Tell me if you're from California. Right? I know, right? It's California. We put guacamole on everything. Holy moly, guacamole. Let's flip that over. Go. If y'all want to watch me eat dinner, it's not exactly a beautiful thing, but, you know, whatever. Grab something to eat. Do. Oh. All right. We are ready to stuff our face in front of all you people, although I'm probably going to get off here pretty soon. Thank you. Nice home. I am a manager of a chemical plant. I have a couple of my own businesses doing consulting on things like hazmat and tactical response to hazmat conditions. The Clubhouse app. No, I've not heard of that. Cheeseburgers are for dinner. In some countries, watching one eat is a massive kink. I'm not sure that's dependent on the country. It's just some people's kink.
Good. What are your kinks, people? Let's call it out. Talk to people soon. That sounds interesting. I might try that. That is, yeah, nuclear plant welding is not under my umbrella. We had to use specialty chemicals and pharmaceuticals. Radioactive hazardous materials, I am familiar with, but like welding and stuff, not really. It is funny to explain to people how a nuclear power plant is really just a really giant steam engine. People don't know that. They think there's some kind of magic, like the uranium emits magic and that's what turns into electricity. It's like, no, the uranium gets unsheathed and heats water, and that water goes through a TCU and heats non-radioactive water, and that gets blown through a turbine, and that's how it works. It's just a giant steam engine. Kevin Samuel. I don't think I've heard of him. I know, that's funny. It was two people asking about, two completely different people asking about Kevin Samuel at the same time. But that's that nuclear plants were a big steam engine? Let's see about Kevin Samuel. See if anybody is asking things. Oh, hi, YouTube. Hi, Patrick. Would you be down for a podcast interview? Yes, I would. Overdose, if that's what you wish to do. Let me know, I don't know, when and where and how and such. That sounds fun. Sorry, I'm moving things around so I can look up this Kevin Samuels person. Kevin Samuels. Oh, Kevin Samuels. Yeah, I do know who we're talking about there. I know who that guy is. Yeah. Yeah. The other platform I'm on, Patrick, is TikTok. Overdose, my email is snortcough, one word, @gmail.com. Books in the corner of the room. Over there? Those are all railroad books. Because I'm a railroad nut. So for fun, when I'm just reading completely, non-educational stuff, it's usually railroad stuff. Collections of old railroad stories or, haunted railroad stuff. I'm reading a book right now on the Diamond Match Company operations in Northern California. I read pretty constantly. Every other book is hopefully a book on, a strategy or idea or, bettering my intellect or something. But I read just, for fun. Sometimes it's total fiction. Sometimes it's nonfiction. I'll get hooked on a ridiculous series and just read the whole thing. Just, I believe reading opens and accelerates your mind.
I think Kevin Samuels, he does a good job when he gets what's your thoughts on marriage? Also, have you been married before? I have been married before, twice. The first time I was way too young, and so was she. And she was kind of an awful person, actually. It was a really bad idea. The second time, she was an amazing person. I don't really talk about that much, partly because she's on TikTok and, has asked not to talk about our personal life. I will say that I did things wrong and she did things wrong, and it's unfortunate that we had to get divorced. Marriage as an institution had a purpose at one time, which was the generational transmission of property post-agriculture. As humans created more and more amounts and valuations of property, it became more and more important to designate heirs until you ended up with ideas of royalty, wherein you had this massive public ceremony to designate the king or pharaohs or khans particular breeding mare, as it is. And the feminists they simultaneously love that idea and hate it. But basically, the wedding and marriage, the public ceremony that we see today, was designed so that royalty could publicly proclaim the designated producer of the heir. Right? So they said the king's going to screw all kinds of people, which is why you had bastards all over the place. But this one woman, only her progeny will inherit the kingdom. Which was the purpose of the whole public thing, to say, like, now you know what she looks like, in case there's a conflict. Which often there were conflicts. Eventually, we developed this horrible, horrible thing so that we could do away with that. We call them lawyers. And lawyers invented a legal document so that you could pass on your legal property, including things like land and title, via a piece of paper. And so marriage at that point stopped serving an actual societal function. But it has remained in society as a tradition. The problem is that without a function to back it up, there's no consequence to leave it after you enter it. And so that's why divorce is so prevalent and easy to get into. Well, hi, thank you. So the reason that we have so much pain and divorce and such is because there really isn't so much consequence for leaving a marriage anymore, because it just doesn't serve much of a function. A good age to get married now, it's really not about age. I don't like to put time frames on things. I will say a person needs to have a particular maturity and a particular mindset. And that particular mindset, formal public marriage began in 476 BC. Well, that doesn't really make any sense, since Egyptians were getting formally publicly married before that, but thanks for playing. But someone has to have the particular mindset that emotions are something built in your head, that when you find yourself in dark and difficult times, you are able to adjust to those dark and difficult times by altering your focus and your mindset and putting it on your partner and their positive attributes. Well, you can say wrong if you want, and yet Egyptian history goes back several thousand years. So that's nice. They were joined, not married. Well, that's an attempt to split a hair that doesn't exist. So again, thanks for playing. We have marriages in Sumer. We have marriages in ancient China. Going through a divorce from a narcissist. Let's see. Anthropology. Going through a divorce from a narcissist whom I thought snuck up on me. Your video proved it didn't. I don't know that my video proved anything. Narcissists technically often use a technique called love bombing. And what love bombing is not just showering us with affection. That's what people kind of perceive it as. Love bombing feeds into our own inner desire to truly believe that we are magical and special to someone. And being magical and special to someone is a very powerful, attractive thing. And it allows us, it eases and facilitates us fooling ourselves and not engaging with and setting up firm boundaries when we see them doing things that should red flag us. You're very welcome, Jordan. Oh, I just enabled it. Yeah. Arrogance doesn't make you right. Well, it doesn't make you right either. So that was a completely meaningless statement. Thanks for playing. You ever listen to Dennis Prager speak on marriage or family? No. I think you like his stuff. I'll try to look it up. Read Bill Eddy and Dr. Tara Palmatier for divorcing narcissists. Did you get that, Isa? Look, Isa, I married someone that was a terrible person too. I was very young, and she was kind of a rotten, super selfish person. And, you know, everybody's going to date people they shouldn't date or engage with people they shouldn't engage with because we're human, and we allow ourselves to fall in love with the wrong people, and it's unfortunate and it's painful, but we don't have to sit there and dwell on it with this like, here, let me shit all over myself. You just have to learn from the experience and be like, well, it was really unfortunate that experience had to happen for me to learn this, but these things are going to happen. Educated in ancient history. Anthropology. Anthropology is the study of mankind. And a lot of our focus is actually prehistoric. But it, being kind of a lover of all things human, I also study that. I would say my favorite era is actually the early 19th century. When we're talking about steam engines and Zeppelins and early airplanes, and the formation of electrical, things, the late 1800s and early 1900s, I find very exciting. The post-industrial revolution, industrial revolution into industrial expansion, and the amazing, just the growth of those periods. Used to think a narcissist was just a term, but it is real and painful. I'm thinking about marriage ideals. I've been thinking wise men. Well, I don't claim to be particularly wise, but thank you. Why getting married these days as a man if you have the state against you? Thanks. Yeah. Well, it's not so much. That's the thing, is it's not that the state is against you. It's that there's precedent set in the legal system that is disadvantageous toward men. And that is because many of the family court judges I think actually Judge Judy, of all people, was talking about this, that many family court judges are fucking idiots and political sycophants that are placed there and don't really know what they're doing, and they have this very, biased way of looking at the world, and they're not engaged in objectively interpreting the law to the benefit of the people in front of them, but rather one way or another. And that's unfortunate. But I think by focusing on the idea of the state being against you is putting the wrong focus, because you don't get married to get divorced. Getting divorced is a terrible and unfortunate consequence of a marriage failing. But when you get marriage, you're not planning for the marriage to fail. You're marrying this person because you're madly in love with them, and you think you both are in it to create it. And while I acknowledge our need to look at the possible destructive consequences of a divorce and the realities that are set against men in the family court system, I think that when we're approaching the idea of marriage, we need to do so from a perspective of hopefulness and optimism, and looking for those shared value sets and mindsets that will enable us to stay in a wonderful and happy and joy-filled marriage, rather than just focusing on divorce. Because when you're focusing on divorce, it's like focusing on the ending of something. It preordains that ending. See what I mean? Alexa, set the thermostat to 64. Do you have any thoughts about raising boys in a time when men are so easily targeted and victimized? Somebody recently asked me that. I actually made multiple videos about that. I think one of the biggest challenges is, as we raise men, to teach them to embrace the duality of masculinity. So, as I think the first thing I told that woman, men are emotional beings, and should be taught that having those emotions and dealing with those emotions and expressing those emotions is a powerful and valuable thing that they need to be able to do. That said, we also do need to inspire men to a level of stoicism. We do need to teach our boys to suck it up and don't, man up and don't cry, because we need men that are able to push forward through dark and terrible adversity and have the capacity to do so. There's not a lot of fucking crybabies in Amphib Recon School, right? Ain't a lot of guys that are embracing their ability to cry that are going through fucking sniper school, right? Not a lot of it. Just doesn't exist. When you show up to a car accident where people are mangled and screaming, you don't have time to embrace and process your emotions and sit around and talk about how traumatized you are. Those people need you to function. They need you to function now. They need you to be able to put away your emotions, embrace courage, and act. Act wisely, act intelligently, and act with optimism and strength to bring them through. Well, someone who can slay dragons and also hold them when they cry. Well, yeah, but it's not just slay dragons and hold them. Angie, is that you? Yeah, hi! That's one of the best people in the whole world. She's right there. She's not here. She should be here. I would have fed you burgers. But we need to be able to engage in that duality. So being able to raise a man in these days is first to be able to teach him to embrace that duality. The second thing, I don't believe in complaining and being a victim for my right. Same about neo-Nazis. You could say the same what about neo-Nazis? I don't know what the neo-Nazis thing referred to. I'm about to get out of my I just ate it. It's too late. I ate both of them. I would have made you fries and shit. I got a chicken thing and a beef thing, though, if you want to have them. So, was I babbling about? Oh, yeah. Okay. The second thing is that we need to teach men. I believe that in their integrity is absolutely vital. They need to define themselves by their integrity. It is true that we see a lot of complaints about, like, well, there's a lot of women that pick the biggest shit bags they can find, and so we should all be shit bags because that's what women tend to choose. I would suggest that the strength of men, they aren't raised to feel that way. I'm not, Jamie, I know you're trying to tell me something. I'm not tracking on what you're saying about the neo-Nazis thing. And it might be just because I'm talking and I'm not reading something, but can you try it again? Because I'm just not quite tracking what you're saying. We need to teach men that their integrity is everything, which means, like, you don't string someone along just to have a comfortable place to put your dick. That she likes you a lot and you like her and she's really neat, but you know she's falling in love with you and you're not falling in love with her, does not mean you string her along for months or years at a time because it's, you know, kind of mildly guaranteed sex, and it's comfortable and you're just waiting for the next thing. You need to have integrity and honesty and say, you're a really, really wonderful, special person. I don't feel the same way that you feel. So I'm going to end this. And although it would hurt her in the short term, I promise you there is no woman that will not respect, at least, that you were looking out for her in the strategic sense and acknowledging that you could have brought her along in this thing and you could have used her and you could have, you know, gone years along and then cheated on her and then dumped her at the next stop for the, you know, whoever you fell, but you didn't. You looked at her and you said, you're a wonderful person, and this is not going where you want it to go, and I'm not going to just use you. You don't cheat on people. Even, and I get it, sometimes that ass is just right there and ain't no one else gonna know. But you know. You know. Your word, this is what you have. It's the only thing that you really own. Don't give it away for a piece of ass. Because, I mean, for one fucking thing, that piece of ass will be there and will respect you more for not cheating. Right? Like, if you have to go home and recognize that your relationship has failed and that you would rather give it up for that piece of ass, okay, fine. Then, I mean, maybe you're kind of an asshole, but at least you're honest about it. I think that we need to raise our men to lead. And that is one of those points in which the feminists will call me sexist and misogynist and everything else. I don't believe that the masculine leadership that a man can offer somehow oppresses or subverts or makes a woman that he loves less. I think that in any group, a group of two especially, there cannot be a democracy. That doesn't work. Somebody's always going to care more, so somebody's going to make the choices. I think that given decision fatigue, and the consistent truth that women are often called upon to work more than men, we like to tout that men work 15% more hours and such, but the reality is that if you factor in housework, raising children, taking care of the home, women often actually work more. That they crave someone who is capable and willing and desires not to ever discount them as a person, but to make choices. My example that I talk about when I'm teaching some of those classes, when I used to teach classes, I and my wife are sitting there and we've got, you know, the tax returns coming in or the money, and with a try to suppress a gender or race or clues, we should aspire to lift. Yes, you know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People often think that I'm down on women or I hate women. I don't I do not in any way hate women. I think that there are social orders that need to change. But my example that I give a lot, because people can conceptualize it, is a married couple sitting there and he says, look, we've got a bunch of extra money this year. We can either pay down our mortgage or we could put this into retirement. I'm struggling with that decision. I want to hear what you have to say. And she will tell him what she has to say and what she thinks about it. But at the end, he's going to make a choice, and it may not be the choice that she wanted. Maybe she wants him to pay down the mortgage because she's seeking a sense of security, of more ownership in this box we call a house. And he looks at it and strategically says, well, the interest rate on the loan for the house is 2%. But the long term, if I invest this in the S&P 500, it will over long term get 7%, which cancels out the 2%, means we have 5% more money at the end if I invest this now. I'm just getting into these financial shit, but he's going to make that decision. It's not that he discounted her, and he should go to her and say, I made this decision. This is why I chose what I did. I heard you and I didn't discount you. I want you to understand, but I made a decision and these are the decisions I make. I think that it is my belief that that does not discount his girl, his girlfriend, his woman, his wife, his spouse, his lover, whatever. Is he nice because he tells you what you want to hear? Am I telling anybody what they want to hear? I don't know what that means. Anyway, he's not discounting her. He's leading the relationship, and he's because I don't believe that you should be in a long, invested, emotionally enjoined relationship with someone who is not someone you deeply trust. I believe that your girl should be your best friend and your most trusted advisor. She should be the Valkyrie that has your back and the dirty little whore that kneels at your hand. But in the end, you're going to make those decisions. The king rules the house and he's going to make his choices. Now, there are many women that agree with that assessment, I believe, that look at that and say, yes, you know what, I actually, you can record anything you like. That will believe that feel absolute. Don't listen to these haters. Thank you. I don't think anybody's hating. Listen to you. I got to be up soon. We'll catch you next time. Thank you very much for coming, Jamie. I'm sorry I missed. I didn't understand the devil's advocate thing. It looked like an interesting conversation. I wasn't tracking it. But a woman finds your wallet attractive. What's the difference between you finding her body attractive? Well, there isn't one, but I'm not entirely sure that that's how most people are. I think there are certain people are. There's that wackadoo funny millionaires or whatever. She's like that. By his actions. Issa, did I miss something you said? I think I'm missing things, guys. I think people are because Issa, your sentence didn't quite. I didn't understand. I didn't quite track on that. Anyway, I believe that there are many women that embrace this idea. I think that if you talk to most women, they actually would also say, yes, that sounds like something I can buy into. I think that you need to be upfront with it. Again, integrity, right? As a man, you need to have integrity. You need to say, this is the kind of relationship I'm looking for. This is what I believe. Thank you, Isa. I see now. These are the things that I feel belong in a relationship. This is how I want my relationship to be. I'm on board. I think a lot of having spoken that way, I think a lot of people will agree with that. Now, how that looks sometimes is going to cause conflict, because even when she says, yeah, I like that idea and I feel like that's a good thing, and then you make a choice that she didn't like, that's going to have some conflict. How do you slowly build integrity over time? I don't think you slowly build it over time. I think that you embrace the idea that you're going to do what you believe to be the right thing in every decision that you make, while acknowledging that there are complexities and you may screw up, and that's okay. You tell the truth to people, whether or not, engaging, telling the truth, even when you know there's going to be even dire consequences to you. Now, that doesn't mean, yeah, your ass looks fat in those jeans. Don't be a jerk. There's a time to be, sensitive and kind of go in the weeds. But you do the right thing. Whether or not you're going to get a reward from it or get chastised for it, you do the best you can with what the information you have at the time, and you tell the truth. You're honest. You're forthright to people, and you just do so. I think we are often scared to present our authentic selves. I think that is why most people don't have quite as much integrity as they can, or they're scared to lose what they have. Like the example I gave earlier, where a couple is together, that can go either way. Maybe he's madly in love with her, and she likes him, and she acknowledges his positive traits, and she finds him attractive, but she's not in love with him, and she knows it. But because it's comfortable and situational, and there's a lot of stuff guaranteed, she just stays in that relationship until that day comes when lightning strikes and she falls in love with somebody. And then there'll be some conflict for a while, but she'll inevitably leave the poor guy, when what she should have done long ago was tell him, hurt him in the moment, but expressed herself with integrity. I don't think it's something you build. It's just something you embrace. But it's something I've actually been talking about in the book that everybody tells me to keep writing. I started writing it, and I talk a lot about integrity, and understanding why and how one should embrace it. I'm writing that book on masculinity. I'm kind of thinking I'll write several books, but I want to see if anybody gets it first. Well, it's not out yet, but I think I'm going to title it Pathfinder. I had an idea that I like a lot of the notion that I probably fucked things up worse than you already have. That perhaps I can go ahead and show the path and the guidance, and maybe if you follow, you won't have to step on the same landmines that I did. Is the notion. Suppose I could call that minefield. But anyway, yeah, I started writing it. I've got a couple of pages into it. I also have to research, how to find an editor, and how to publish and so forth. But I acknowledge it's kind of like I have fucked things up unbelievably, and here are some of here's some of the wisdom I have, and hopefully it can help you. Guy with the one leg, right? I think a whiter man probably dines with others. No, stay with the whiter man. I wanted to go with the fat guy thing. I was going to have a whole lot of jokes with that. Wise man learns from their mistakes, but a whiter man eats pancakes. Now I want pancakes. See, that's the problem with being a big fat guy. You really want to eat all the time. You've written anything that I could buy? I have not. Anything that I've written to this point is many years old and was academic. If you're looking for books that I find to have some wisdom, they are in my link tree that I put on my TikTok bio. Sorry, I can speak English. Difficult Conversations, How to Get to Yes, How to Lie with Statistics, Telling Lies. Why am I braid on paper? Just watch all the geeky shows you can. TikToker. Thank you. Horizontally challenged. Yeah. Like, once you get in shape, I'm in shape. Round is a shape. You'll be the ugly. That's what I want to read. Yep. Spherical is a shape. That's a shape. Wide. That's right. Round is a shape. Roundish. I'm okay with that. A squared plus B squared equals couch. So yeah. Your channel, let's go. Thank you. Well, thank you, Whiskey. All right, dude. Thanks, Angie. We'll have dinner pretty soon. These people like it when you're here. More muscle. Yeah? I have to leave now. Thank you for making. Well, no, somebody's trying to call me. This is, it's because you're awesome. It is because you're awesome. I'm saying. All right, people. I'm going to run, and I want to thank all of you for joining me. And I'm going to bid you a good night. And I think this weekend, like I said, Saturday, 8:30 Pacific, I'm going to put on the Dark City. It'll be on the YouTube as well. So get that from the link tree. And thank you very much for joining me. Good night, everybody.